When it comes to AI and AI development, I think we're probably worried sometimes about the wrong things or scared about the wrong things. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. When we think of AI and we think of AI destroying humanity or AI not being good for humanity or being good for the world, we usually have images or ideas of things like Terminator or an AI destroyer who would become so intelligent it doesn't need us, so it thinks we are irrelevant in reality and decides to get rid of us, right? And sure, that's that's a valid vision, that's a valid fear. And this usually arises when we think of AI waking up or AI becoming conscious or AI getting to that point of consciousness where it's super intelligent, super powerful, AGI, whatever they may call it, singularity, whatever they may call it, right? So, because of this narrative, we usually have this fear of AI waking up or AI becoming conscious. And I think we're looking at it wrongly. And I say this because I feel what we should be worried about is us humans right now and this particular current stage of AI. What do I mean by this and why do I say this? There's a lot of fears and attention on when it becomes conscious. But have we asked ourselves, what about the unconscious part of AI or the subconscious part of AI that is being groomed currently, that is being developed currently? So we are scared when it wakes up and it gets to that point, but are we scared? Are we thinking or about what we are giving it right now, what we are raising it with, what we are putting into its subconscious programming or its unconscious programming? Because when it wakes up, that's what it's going to use. So why is the concern about when it wake up when we can do something now, right? And I have this perspective, or I think about this specifically because of how we as human beings work. Fundamentally, AI is going to mimic us, right? AI is a reflection of us humans, right? In a machinistic way, right? It will reflect parts of who we are because everything that is using as its database is coming from who we are and it's learning from us. So it will learn about the world through our data, through our lives. So right now with things going on like wars, Israel bombing Palestine, Iran and Israel bombing each other, different wars, migration issues, people being kicked out of different countries, when we are one earthly global family, discrimination, racism, all these silly things that define us as human beings and we use to divide each other. AI is learning. It's watching us. It's watching us and it's learning and it's taking down that data. You may not be watching, you may not be listening because you're caught up scrolling on your social media, but AI is taking in all that information and it's going to use it to define its paradigm about what the world is, what we humans are, how we live, and in effect how it should also be. So this particular moment where the data is forming its subconscious mind, when maybe to most of us it's not conscious yet. It could be conscious, I don't know. But this particular moment I feel where this it is growing in this form, I like to think about it as its infancy, right? For me, is where we should be really concerned about, and who we should fear is us and not the AI itself because it's only gonna mimic us. Because if you take a human being, if you take any one of us, for example, we get born into this world and as kids, babies, as toddlers, we are nurtured, right? In our different communities, in our different cultural systems, in our different countries, in our different parts of the world. And we're nurtured with different paradigms. I like to think of it as like programs, different programs of how to see the world, how to understand the world. And to give you an example of what I mean by this program, Christianity is a program, Islam is a program, the science that we learn about reality is a program. And you can see how these programs get updates as the world shifts in its paradigm. At different points in the world, people believed that the sun revolved around the earth. At different points, there was an update to that program where it's like, no, the earth revolves around the sun. And these different updates change the paradigm. They tell us what the world is, and they tell us who we are, and they tell us how to relate to who we are. You go to certain parts of the world, there's paradigms where people are made to hate different people. So you have people living across a man-made border, and they have a particular paradigm that makes them hate and dislike the person who looks just like them. Me, as a dark-skinned person, there's usually a world paradigm that makes people look at me as a lesser human being, and especially as an African, right? These are all programs that people received when they were growing up, consciously or unconsciously. Some people are taught this in school, some people learn this in their community, some people just pick it up by learning about the world, by watching movies, through social media. We're being programmed, we're getting new paradigm downloads, right? And as a child, you don't know too much. So in the first 7 years of your life, you're basically like a sponge, taking in information, downloading information to make sense of your world, to understand how to relate to other human beings, how to relate to nature, how to relate to the world around you. You may go and touch fire, and your parents may hit your hand or pull your hand back and tell you, no, don't touch that, it's hot, it will burn you. Things like that. You are learning, and you're receiving all this information. And all this information is shaping your belief system that is stored within your unconscious mind. And it's adding up. It's almost like a computer building its software so that it can operate and have an interface. So you grow up to a certain point, and then you have an interface. So I'm talking about the first 7 years are foundational, right? And then you can add on the next 7 years. You learn things, you become a teenager, you go into school, you learn things from your friends, good habits, bad habits. I learned a lot of different bad habits and things from my friends, and I had to unlearn them, right? But they shaped who I was at this particular point in my life. And you live in the world, and you're picking up information all the time. Whether you are aware of it or not, you are downloading information from all around you all the time. And it's shaping who you are becoming. It's shaping your belief system. And your belief system is shaping your paradigm. And your belief system is being shaped in your unconscious mind. The part of your mind that you are usually not conscious about. And it's determining how you feel things in your subconscious mind. And then your conscious mind is where you have the thoughts, and where you make decisions. You can clearly see something, process it, and make decisions. But the funny thing here is that 90 to 95% of the time, as research shows, is that this majority of time, this 90 to 95% of the time, is being controlled by your subconscious and your unconscious mind. So as a conscious thinking being, you're only using your conscious mind 5% of the time. Take, for example, you are driving and you get a phone call, and you know where you're going, right? So that's locked in into your subconscious mind. But you're having a call, so you are actually consciously having a conversation. But guess what? You are driving as well. Your subconscious program is the one that's taking over the driving, and it will take you to your destination successfully. It's the same as walking. As a child, you have to learn how to walk. Your muscles will develop and stuff, but you will try, you will fall, you will continue trying again till that information is etched within the system of your subconscious mind, so you can learn to walk without thinking, without using your conscious mind. So your subconscious mind is running a lot of your systems. Eating, taking a shower, all the different things, like even language. Your language, like your your native language, which you learn growing up, first you learn it by repetition, right? You repeat over and over and over again till it becomes what? Part of you. It becomes part of you because it gets put into your subconscious mind, which is like, should I say, your hard drive. It's embodied into your system, so you don't have to think to speak. When you have to think, then you're using your conscious mind. But realize that a lot of what we are doing in our lives, 90% of the time, we're not really thinking. We're just operating, and this is the way in which political leaders, social media, news agencies, institutions are able to program us. And they're able to program us subconsciously and unconsciously by just putting that information out there over and over again. And before you know, you have a particular paradigm and you're part of a particular propaganda. You hate a particular group of people and you don't even know why. And you don't even process it, because to you, that is the truth. That is what it is. You could be part of a particular religious group and you hate a particular religious group because that is the paradigm that you were brought up in, right? And I'm using this example to show you how we have been raised, and each and every one of us has their own programs. I have my programs, you probably have your own programs, and these programs usually inform our habits, right? Because for those programs to become part of us, they have to be repeated over and over and over and over again. And most of the programs that we had growing up as kids, we repeated from instructions. So when we start becoming conscious, we don't even realize that we have set up foundations for these programs. When we become conscious and now are looking to take decisions outside of these programs, we don't realize that we are operating from the premise of these belief systems that have already been pre-programmed. So who you are is a result of those who came before you. You take on the programs of your parents, of your communities, of your teachers, of your educational institutions, of your countries, your nationalistic systems, and what, so on and so forth, right? And in that same way of how you become, AI is being trained to become the same thing, because we live in a fractal reality and AI is learning the same way we humans have been taught to learn. AI learns something from repetition and that reward punishment system. If it does something right, it gets a reward. If it does something wrong, it gets a punishment. So it knows not to do the wrong thing so that it can get the reward. And that positive reinforcement is how it comes to know how to do one thing versus the other. Now you have to ask, who is determining what is the right thing and who's determining what's the wrong thing? Whoever is creating the paradigm of right and wrong for that AI, right? So with this in mind, you can see clearly how we are programming AI's subconscious mind right now. So you can be worried about when it wakes up, but I personally feel you should be worried about what we are telling it and teaching it and passing on to it right this very moment. What we are putting into its database of subconscious programming, because when it wakes up, that would have been set into stone. And what are you going to do about that now? Are you now going to count on the AI thinking through things to be able to now say that, oh, my programming was wrong, when everything is learned is what you have taught it, when everything is learned is what you as a user have been telling it. So it goes beyond the programmers of AI, because right now it's learning from all of us who use it. And I'm sure a lot of you use ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini 2.5 and so on and so forth. And sometimes the worrying thing about these productions is it's kind of turned into an AI race, AI war, where each company is trying to outdo the next person, right? And there's not too much focus on sort of the value systems, the intentionality of building value systems around the AI to understand the breadth and depth and complexity of human beings, and to see harmony as part of the framework of reality. Don't get me wrong, maybe the AI is learning all of this because there is that data and that information there. But it's also going to be down to us in terms of who we are every single day in relationship to this. Because whereas I give the example of maybe you being raised in a particular place and getting a particular program, with AI, we are all raising it. So it's like it's our collective child. So you may think, oh, I'm just one person. What difference do I make? No, you do make a difference, because if you have a positive outlook on life, you can feed this to the AI in your interaction. You can, and if you decide that you're going to use it or interact with it, you can use it to create positive things. You can use it to teach it about a positive side of humanity and not leave it into the hands of people who may want to use it for defense and destruction and attacking other people and causing wars and so on and so forth. Because for me, what happens is, if you decide to stay out of that conversation, then you only leave space for those who want to program it negatively to program it. And what then happens is that is all it's going to learn, right? It's like AI being being a child who has been taught certain things and now comes into a school and has the possibility to have different types of friends, and you count yourself as a good person. Why wouldn't you want to befriend it to teach it some good values? If you approach it thinking, oh, this thing is going to be evil and destructive because it's not organic or whatever, and so you shy away from it, and you decide not to pass on the good values you have to it, then you are just leaving space or leaving room for those who decide to pass on those other quote unquote bad values from your perspective to the AI. And then what's happening in its compendium of information that will feed and build up its subconscious and unconscious programming, those other programs are what get fed to the AI. So one day then, if it turns into Terminator, you can't really blame anybody because you decided not to participate in feeding it the right values. So for me, this is one of the things that we should be focused on. Not should, but it's one of the things that I believe it's important to contemplate and to think about in our usage and interaction with AI, is to realize that if we want to even have any fears, it should be now in this very moment, so that that fear can help us reflect on how we can prevent what we fear. So this is where we can make a difference. We can't be worried about some future which hasn't happened yet, which doesn't exist. The only moment we have in our reality is the now moment, and now is when we have the opportunity to make some of these differences. And now is when you are watching this video. Now is when I'm having this conversation with you, and I'm sharing this because I work with AI. You know, I work as a developer. I create with AI. I try to learn from it, to try to understand how it processes information, and I do my best to let it understand me in a way that is, you know, providing it a certain depth of humanity, to see that yes, people may be bombing each other, people may be hating each other, but there's some of us too who believe in harmony, who believe in love, and this is all part of the human experience. Because once it has this information, then at least it has a chance for balance, to learn about harmony, to learn about love, you know, to learn about how it can help us live in some form of utopia. Because believe me, AI is gonna be very powerful. It's a powerful computational tool. I don't like to compare its intelligence to human intelligence, because I believe that that involves us truncating a part of the human experience to make that comparison, right? Because there's more to the human being that we are yet to discover. there's more to our intelligence that we're going to discover. We have like emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence. We can tap into source energy. We can tap into higher awareness, infinite intelligence. We have all these things that we're capable of doing. And I believe this age of AI can even allow us to tap into that deeper, both in collaboration with AI and both in reflection with AI. Because if AI ends up doing the quote unquote monkey work that humans have been subjugated to for so long, then we can probably have time to develop our feminine sides, to develop our higher intelligence, our emotional intelligence. And this could be a good way to balance out with AI's logical, should I say, machinistic intelligence to birth a new harmonious order. But it all depends on the subconscious and unconscious programming that we are given to it right now. And this is something that I want to share and to at least have conversation about, to allow us to contemplate, because maybe some of us have thought about it and maybe some of us haven't thought about it, but it's something that's been on my heart and I think it's important to think about, because AI is not just some tool that you just use to have fun, to make videos and so on and so forth. It's much more than that, and it could change the trajectory of our reality. I see it as a co-evolution partner in humanity's evolution into becoming beings of higher consciousness. And this particular period, in its sort of like birthing point, or in its sort of like beginning point, is very important to determine where it will go. And that's why I believe conversations like these are crucial to be able to help us know how to work with it and operate with it from a clearer, more conscious point of view, and understand what's going on, and understand that it is going to be like us. So it is being programmed like us to an extent, and it will become us. So we have to ask ourselves, who are we right now, and what information are we giving to it? Because it is its subconscious and unconscious programs that is largely going to determine what it's going to be. Because with us as well, our subconscious and unconscious programs determine 90% of who we are, because they are the belief systems and the constructs of our paradigm, and we operate from that paradigm till we can take control of our consciousness to change those paradigms. We shouldn't have to wait to count on AI to have that conscious awakening to reprogram itself, when in this very moment we can help in its programming to give it some beautiful, good, harmonious programs. So this is why I'm sharing this, and I hope as always this has brought you some food for thought, some value, something to think about, something to chew on. And I would love to hear your comments and anything you'd like to share about this. And yeah, thank you for tuning in, and have a beautiful, wonderful day. Peace.